Good morning. We'll call our meeting to order. First item is there any bills to introduce? Seeing none. Move on to discussion and action on conference items. So what we're going to do, we're just going to have an update brief, and I'm not going to keep you too long so you can get lunch, but I'm going to have Dylan go through the differences, and I would ask each subcommittee chair that you take these along and look them over the weekend and get with me so we make sure that we find out things that are on differences and prioritize them so we kind of know which ones are the most important. So with that, Dylan, if you don't mind.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Dylan Deere. I'm the Acting Assistant Director for Fiscal Affairs, and I'm going to talk to you about the easy document first. That's the blue one. So this is just the House adjustments to the governor's recommendation as adjusted for floor action. So, as you're aware, there was like about 5 floor amendments that went on. We had to E-Verify. We had the 3.25% across the board reduction. There was a performance-based budgeting recommendation, and there was an adjustment to the TCM rates. So those are now incorporated, and that's the only changes between the shorthand you had previously and the document that you have before you. As far as the 3.25% across the board, that is a certified number, so that's not reflected in any of the agency individual budgets. It's just a one-line $97 million reduction, and that's just a best guesstimate from the floor. So as we go through the process and find out where all the budgets end up, we'll determine how much of a reduction that would actually be. So I just wanted you to have this so that you can compare it. And with your permission, Mr. Chairman, I'll sort of walk through the new document, which is the yellow sheet.
Please.
So the way we organize this is it starts with agency first in the far left-hand column, and then does the fiscal year in which the adjustment occurs. And the item column, okay, you may recall there was a sort of a cuts list on that last day of consideration on the budget. So each one of those on that tan sheet is reflected in this item column. So if it's on the tan sheet, it'll be in the third column, which is the item column. Yellow sheet. Right, I made a reference to the old tan one that was passed out on the last day on deliberation of the budget. And just saying that all those items that were formerly on the tan sheet are now reflected on this yellow sheet, okay? Then it goes to the number on the conference comparison list. All right, of course, you do not have the conference comparison list yet, but this is our projected item number and page number which those items will appear on. And the reason for that is even though the items were deleted from the budget, you may still end up in a position that is different from the House. Okay, so that item is still in conference, it'll still appear on the conference comparison list, and you'll have an opportunity to take a position on that. And then the column has previous status in the Senate. So basically, this is what the position was prior to the deletion. So before the deletion action was taken, this is what your position was. It just helps you sort of understand that action. And then also, just for your purposes, because we've now passed the House bill, pretty close to it anyway, you have a House position. So that would describe what the difference would be. Now, for most of them, you're going to see just sort of like the previous Senate position and a position on the conference. But if you look at like KDHE Health, okay, for the 5th item, which is the deletion of Medicaid expansion, all right, both the House and the Senate took that position, okay? So as a result, that is not on the conference comparison list. So the items that are not going to be on the conference comparison list, the conference committee will have to discuss, will be listed as a position not in conference in that 4th column. And I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items, okay, that of all the adjustments that were made on that last day, there's 6 items that were not on the conference comparison list. I also want to draw your attention to the second page on this list, which is C, agency pay plans. So there was 2 pay plan actions taken. The first is in the global 5%, and the second was for the variety of agency salary adjustment plans for 24 and 25. And then you get this last page, which kind of does this list all over again, just for pay plan purposes. All right, and it sort of describes the difference between the House and the Senate. So my intention at this point was not to go over item by item. I think it was the preference by the chair, but just to sort of walk you through the sort of process. And we, of course, have staff available to answer questions should you have any.
Are there any questions for Dylan? Senator Petty.
Dylan, I'm just going to go back to when you were talking about the blue sheet, and you mentioned about, so the House, when you said about made a 3.5% reduction, is that across the board? And that is a $97 million.
I'm talking about the Senate actions that were taken to do a 3.25% across the board reductions with specific exceptions. So that was a Senate floor amendment. And so I'm just saying that was one of the adjustments that is now reflected in this blue shorthand list.
It is in here.
It is in here. It's just not there by agency. So you're not going to see it for the Board of Healing Arts, for example. It's just done as a single sort of global adjustment is the way it appears in the list. And anything that was a floor amendment actually says floor amendment after the item entry.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
As I mentioned a little earlier, committee, I want everyone to take these along, look them over, and especially if it was a subcommittee that you chaired, and make sure that at some point in time here between now and Monday when we meet, we will meet Monday at 9 a.m. here to get an update on the estimates and to start work on the omnibus items. Senator McGinn.
So we will meet, or you as a conference will meet on Monday at 9 o'clock. All of us will
Right.
meet at 9 o'clock on Monday. Okay.
Correct? Yes. That's what we talked, correct? Yeah,
Senate committee.
right. And then basically, I just want to go over and make sure that whatever's the most important to everybody that has had their chance for their input. Other questions? Seeing none, and I guess we will meet Monday, April 24th at 9 o'clock. So with that, we're adjourned. Thank you.